So the month of May was a little strange. I couldn't make up my mind on what I wanted to read, and I kind of noticed that throughout this whole year. And I've just gone like from one thing to another, a bunch of book ones, maybe a book two, other than Dungeon Crawler Carl, of course. I just binged those. And I think that might still be one of the problems I'm having is I binged the crap out of that series. And then what? What do I do? Like, how do you move on from a series that good? So this month, I think I read like 11 books. Let's just get right into talking about them. I started the month with a reread, and that was Nightmare in Pink by John D. MacDonald. One of the best books in the Travis McGee series. It's still perfect. I say perfect, but it has some things that definitely date itself to the mid 60s. Not in the worst way possible, but some people aren't going to like it. I don't think it's a big deal. But beyond that, the book is amazing. Such a fantastic psychological thriller, perfectly blended into this fantastic detective novel or crime novel, whatever. Travis McGee's not a detective. Cops threaten to arrest him all the time for not having a private investigator license. So whatever it's called. Good book. That's what it is. After that, I read Blitzed, Drugs in Nazi Germany by Norman Ohler, and that book was not good. That book is essentially let me force all of the decisions made by Nazi Germany into one thing, and that one thing was meth. And it's like, what? Are you serious right now? I mean, every single thing. It's like, well, why was the Battle of the Bulge successful? Meth. Why did Hitler make the decisions he made? Meth. Why was the German war machine so effective in the Blitzkrieg? Meth. Why did Goring make some of the terrible decisions he did? Heroin. Oh wait, I mean meth. No, it was heroin. And it's like, what? The whole book, basically, it reads like the author started with his theory that drugs were the reason why Nazi Germany did everything it did, and then he just found things to fit that narrative. And it's a pop history book, so I understand why it's written that way, but I didn't like it. I just was not having a good time with that. And there's some interesting stuff in there about different characters that were around Hitler, like his doctor, and was like, here, you need these drugs, they'll make you better. And he was like a quack doctor. I mean, if that doctor would have been alive today, he'd have been on a TV show that aired like after The View or something in the middle of the day. So yeah, that book wasn't very good. I gave it like 3 stars because it's a decent pop history book, but not a very good history book. Basically, the thesis doesn't hold up under examination. After that, I got right back into Lois McMaster Bujold's bibliography. I read Knot of Shadows, which is book 11 in the Penrick and Desdemona series. I actually read this one instead of doing audio because I didn't have the audiobook. And let me tell you, Bujold's writing is even better when your eyes are on paper. I really enjoy the audiobooks, but I just was blown away by how good of a writer she is with the way she structures things and the way that Penrick communicates with Desdemona and vice versa, and the way Desdemona communicates with the world. I think it actually translates really well on paper. It also works really well in the audiobook, but I didn't realize that a lot of what the narrator was doing was on the freaking page. She's just so good. It was a great book. Knot of Shadows is the perfect example of how Lois McMaster Bujold can take very hard to deal with subjects and make a beautiful story where you really feel something and you really care about what's going on to the people in the story. She's just so good at handling things like that. After that, I read one of my new favorite books of all time, and that is The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. The book is perfect. I don't understand what the haters are talking about. They must not know how to read. This is everything Joe Abercrombie does best, but better. Like, it's just turned to 11. I loved it. The premise of the story is this takes place in an alternate history Europe that has fantastical elements. There's wizards, there's necromancers, there's werewolves, there's probably zombies, there's vampires, there's angels, there's demons. And in this alternate history of Europe, this is taking place in like pre-Renaissance. I think it really takes place right around where A World Lit Only by Fire by William Manchester covers, which is the build up to the Renaissance, like the end of the Dark Ages, which weren't a thing. You can really tell. I don't know if he's read A World Lit Only by Fire, but the way the church works in his world reminds me of some of the lunacy that you read about in A World Lit Only by Fire, which is a history nonfiction book, so maybe they're just pulling from the same sources. Anyways, in this world, Carthage was the superpower instead of Rome, and talks about it pretty early on. And I really enjoyed that. I love alternate history. Alternate history is one of my favorite subgenres. And so the fact that the Devils has that on top of everything that makes Joe Abercrombie great, it's just perfect. I love the cast. I love the humor. I love the action. I mean, this is the novel form of all of the action movies that I loved from like the 80s and early 90s. The relationship between the different characters and the doing the mission and it always going wrong and just action packed. So many funny things happening, so many interesting places and people. I just loved it. I want to read it again. It's just a great book. Now, while I was listening to this, I still do my ebooks before bed, and I was reading World Building from Small Towns to Entire Universes by Kevin J. Anderson. This is a very small book, and most of what it does is just cover very obvious things about world building as a writer, but someone has to say the obvious things, because if you're learning to do this kind of stuff, like build a fantasy world, you have to start somewhere, and most of this book are the questions you should be answering while building your world. I really enjoyed it. It's not groundbreaking, but it does help you build a really good foundation in how to structure a world, ranging from, like it says in the title, small towns to entire universes. And I really liked it. And anyone out there that is interested in world building should check it out. I think it's like 90 pages long if it was physical. I got it for free in like a ebook collection from not Humble Bundle, but something like Humble Bundle, Bag of Holding or something like that. I can't remember, but it's a good book. Now these next two, I went back to back, Lois McMaster Bujold. I was late to a buddy read of Bariyar, but I did read it, and wow, is that one of the best books she has ever written. Well, that I have read so far. So was that 14 or 15 of her books? Bariyar is so good. I cannot recommend it enough. Please, everyone go out there and get Cordelia's Honor, which is Shards of Honor and Bariyar as a collection. Well, you can't quite get it because they're $40 now in mass market paperback. So I don't know, pick them up on ebook or something, or buy individual copies, but I can't recommend it enough. And I say that as I look over at my hardcover copy I picked up for $9. It is such a wonderful science fiction book that's almost not a science fiction book. All of it takes place on a single planet, and you're almost exclusively following Cordelia in this book, and it is so good from start to finish. I don't think there is another science fiction author out there that can write characters the way Bujold does. I'm not saying she's the best. I'm saying that we've got like a S-tier group of character writers in science fiction, and she's just off to the side in her own little bubble, just making these people so real and writing them in a way that I don't see other people do. I don't know if I'm smart enough to express what it is about her writing that makes it so good, but she doesn't miss. I am blown away so far by everything I've read from her. I just can't get over it. So to sum up my review of Bariyar, please go buy the first two books and read them in the Vorkosigan series, and I am so looking forward to reading the rest of that series. That is how I'm going to end my Lois McMaster Bujold journey, and I can't wait to get to it. And like I said, I read back to back. So after that, I read Demon Daughter, which is book 12 in the Penrick and Desdemona series. Speaking of which, book 14 has been announced for the Penrick and Desdemona series. So this whole reading and active writer's bibliography definitely increases difficulty. We'll talk about that when it comes to what I'm reading right now toward the end of the video. Demon Daughter, yet again, it's perfect. It's just a thing of beauty. You get Penrick and you get Desdemona, but more importantly, you follow the POV of a child. I think she's, 9 or 8, and it's such a beautiful POV. Bujold does such a magnificent job of writing this character, and it is such a joy to see the world through her eyes and to see how she changes throughout this novella. It's just magnificent. It's one of my favorite books in the series. Maybe it's because I have a kid that is like the same age as that character. I had such a great time with that heartfelt, beautiful story. I mean, I'm choking up just thinking about it. Y'all need to read the Penrick and Desdemona series. I'm serious. I just don't understand why more people don't read it. They're freaking novellas. Like, they're literally palate cleansers that can be built into your reading time. Read your big old book of some whack thing that's in the top 100 on Goodreads Fantasy, and then read a Penrick and Desdemona novella. Can't recommend them enough. After those, I needed a change of pace. And so for my change of pace, I went to an extreme. I read Cowgirl Smut, Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. When I say smut, I mean smut, like all caps. This book is real dirty. I gave it 5 stars because it's very well written, but I do have to say that like the first, hour of the audiobook was almost boring. I stuck to it because it felt like it was gonna go somewhere, and it really does. But man, it was a very soft beginning. My wife said the same thing. She finished the book just a few days ago. This book is real dirty. So let's whip that out there real quick. And now we can talk about the other stuff. The excuse for having the very dirty scenes. The characters are great. The dialogue is great. Lila Sage makes this small town in Wyoming a character, and it's one of the best characters in the book. The book is about Emmy Ryder and her coming back to the small town she escaped as soon as she was done with school. She became a professional in like the women's rodeo circuit, racing horses, and she has like a riding accident. Now she has the horseback riding equivalent of the yips. She can't get on a horse. Like it's just really messing her up. And there's like a family history of trauma that involves things like this. So she can't even broach the topic with her family because she doesn't want to put a burden on them beyond the one they already have from something like this. And she's trying to deal with it on her own. And she goes back to her small town and she finds support there. And she finds support from the last person she would have ever expected. It's a romance novel. We're going to follow romance tropes. It ends up being the best friend of her oldest brother. And they always picked on each other, nipped at each other, didn't get along, fought all the time as kids and stuff. And now they've started to fall for each other. And that's the rest of the book. It's great. One of the reasons I rated it 5 stars was because I cared so much about the characters around them that when I realized the rest of the series kind of gets a few of those characters in each one, I was like, I'm sold. You got me. About halfway through, I was like, it's all right. It's well written. But by the end, I cared about the town. I cared about the people, and I want to know what happens. And what better way to know a book is a 5-star read other than, holy crap, I need more of this. Please give me more books. And I know there are 3 more. So I'm excited to read them. I don't know when I'll read the next one. I need to add again, this book is smut. So don't comment to me if you read it and you're surprised that there's adults doing adult things in it. After that, I went to another series I had only read 1 book in, and that was The Wrecking Crew by Donald Hamilton, which is Matt Helm book 2. This book was incredibly mid. I didn't really like it. Matt Helm is incredibly annoying in this book. He's like, oh, women shouldn't wear pants because then they look like men, and that's just not how women should look. And I'm like, all right, dude, calm down. Like, I know this is 1960, but like, what are you doing? Oh, women that dye their hair blue, they can't be taken seriously. And I'm like, what are you? Like, that's the same kind of dude that would be whining today. It's like in his 80s, and it's like, bro, calm down. I mean, a good third of the book is him bitching. And I'm like, why, dude? You're an assassin and you're out to go kill someone. Like, can you stop crying about things around you? Such a whiny tone. And I was just irritated almost the entire time I was reading the book. And he makes some like obvious mistakes. There's like an in-book reason for him doing that, but then some of the mistakes he should not have made. It would not have blown his cover, and I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't like the story. The book is written well. The action scenes are great. Other than Matt saying stupid things, the dialogue is good. It really paints a picture of where it takes place in Europe, but it just was not very good for me. It's like 2.5 stars, 3 stars. I don't know. What do stars mean? They're made up. After that, I had another mid book. I'm spoiling my feelings toward the book, but that was Of Fire and Blood by Ryan Cahill. It was good. Nothing really stood out other than the fact that it's Aragon, except written by someone who wasn't 15. I'm trying not to say it's derivative because it really is its own thing, but when I tell you that it's a young man who gets a dragon and starts to develop magical powers and learns sword fighting as he's traveling on a long journey. That's literally freaking Aragon. And that he is going to be the only one in hundreds of years, and he's going to stand up to an evil emperor who has a group of evil knights. That's literally Star Wars and Aragon. And I'm sorry that is exactly what it is, but what am I supposed to do except see Aragon inside of this story? I mean, I had a good time with it, and until literally today, I was going to say that I don't know if this traditional fantasy hero's journey works for me anymore, even though I said it's one of my favorite tropes. But I went back and I started reading The Magic of Recluse again. I love it. I love every second of it. It's just so good. It's even better now, almost 20 years later. I think I read it for the first time when I was like 19. Wow, is it different now? I'm getting so many things out of it that I just didn't even acknowledge existed the first time I read it. I'm only maybe 5% of the way into the book. Now I'm digressing into a book I'm reading now instead of talking about Of Fire and Blood, which I don't know. Maybe I'll read more of it later. There are people in book groups I'm in that love it, hype it up, and I thought it was competently written, but I think I want to read other stuff first, like a lot of other things. And one of those other things is the last book I read in May, and that was The Hot Rock by Donald E. Westlake. This is the best caper novel I've ever read. It is so funny. Westlake is a genius. This is the story of Dortmunder, and he gets out of jail and immediately hijinks ensue. He thinks he's being chased and almost ran over by someone. It ends up being his buddy who's picking him up from prison, but he didn't know. And then he's like, hey, I got a job for you. We've got to steal this emerald. There are these two African nations. They squabble over who technically has the rights to it. One of them controls it and the other one wants us to get it back. They want control of it and they're going to pay us. And so immediately things start to go wrong. And the whole caper is Dortmunder having to plan and execute heists repeatedly for the same jewel. It's so good. Donald E. Westlake's comedic timing is just magnificent. I gotta have a quick digression. I read a lot of really fun and entertaining books this month, and I feel like this has just been one big like gush fest other than a couple that were stinkers. And I want to say, like, that is what reading is about. Why would I spend a month reading a bunch of turds and having a bad time? I guess the theme of this month was I found very fun things that brought me joy, and wow, was it a good month for reading. And I am hoping that I can carry that on for the rest of the year. And back to Dortmunder. Wow, that book is good. I will be reading the sequels. I don't know how many sequels there are. I have 9 of the audiobooks on my phone, so I will worry about there being more after I get to like book 7 or 8. Can't recommend Dortmunder enough. Go read The Hot Rock. And that is what I read this month. I didn't count them. I think it's 11. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about what I'm going to be reading, or what I'm still reading, carrying over from May to June. I mentioned it in a previous video. I started a new job. It has disrupted my reading greatly, but it's starting to get better. I have realized that because of kind of the way things work, I'm going to have to do a lot of like rereads or easy to read books when it comes to audio, just because my concentration's not there. And it will get better. And so right now I've been focusing on just another Travis McGee book. I read the 3rd one for the 2nd time, and now I am rereading The Magic of Recluse, the first book in L.E. Modesitt Jr.'s Recluse series. Why don't more people talk about these books? I loved them when I read them 18 years ago, and I am realizing I love them just as much now, if not more. So hopefully these go well. Maybe they're going to be something I read like one of a week or one every other week. We'll see. But the big important book that I'm reading right now, and I am, let's check real quick, 55% of the way through, is Lies Weeping, the new Black Company novel by Glenn Cook. I'm not going to give a big review or anything, but I will say I am having fun with it. It is nothing like the previous Black Company novels. I can see all of the stylistic choices that he started making later in his career in this book, and that's not a bad thing, but this is definitely not the same author that wrote the original Black Company series. And like I said in previous videos, that's okay, because these are different analysts. They have a different background than Croker, so the books are supposed to feel different, and that is one thing he has always excelled at, is voice of his characters and how distinct they are. So Lies Weeping is going well. It's nothing like any of the other Black Company books. I will be putting out a review of it when I'm done. I thought about waiting until closer to when it comes out, which is like October or whatever, but I'll do it as soon as I'm done. It's not going to have spoilers because it's a freaking arc. I almost feel bad even making a video about it, but I think it's close enough to release that it's not a big deal. It's not like all the reviews of The Devils from last year where people are like, this is great. Can't wait for y'all to read it 340 days from now. Anyways, we'll get to that when we get to it. When it comes to reading for the rest of the month, I do plan on reading a couple of history books. I was talking to my daughter and I was like, what should I read? You tell me. and I'll do it. And she's like, you should read history. And I'm like, done. I've got 2 short history books I want to read. One of the history books I plan on reading is The Shortest History of France. And I mean, it is what it says. It is a very short book about the history of France. So that will be fun. I have been needing a little more nonfiction in my life because I realized that last month all I read was the stupid Nazis on meth book. And so that wasn't the best choice. Another thing I have been reading, and when I finish the 5th one, I might make a video about, that is the X series by Peter Clines. The first book is Exheroes, which is about superheroes in Los Angeles protecting the last survivors of the zombie apocalypse. And they have created like a fort on the Paramount studio lot, and they're just fun. They're so fun. I finished the 4th one recently. I'll talk about that next month. Like I was saying earlier, I want to have some fun reading, and so I have just been searching for books that bring me joy, which is why I'm rereading The Magic of Recluse. So be prepared next month when it is another gush fest of me talking about how much fun I had with books. And when it comes to a video production with my new job, I'm doing this reshuffling of how I do everything in my life, and part of that is going to be how I make videos. I have less free time, but somehow this free time works better for me. So hopefully as the weeks and months go on, I'll get better at making the videos I want to make. And a lot of those are going to be less TBRs, top 10s. I'll still do those. Eventually, I haven't really done one. Less book hauls, but I'll still do those every time I accrue enough. It's just the pace is going to be a lot slower. And I want to do more videos that are retrospectives of series like the Travis McGee one I want to make, or retrospectives on writers like the Roger Zelazny video I made. I have one that I want to do about space operas as not quite a defining the genre video, another series I need to get back to working on. But I want the one about space operas to be more about what are current space operas and kind of how people have just ignored the original definition of space opera, because it is not books that take place on spaceships that have a large cast. That's not a space opera. That is the kind of thing I want to move more toward. And that's really all I got going on right now. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of those. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas for retrospectives, because if you're watching this, you probably watch a lot of my stuff and you might have a better idea of what I should do next than I do. Thank you for watching. This has been one heck of a week/month, and I can't wait to see what I get going for the rest of the month. And with that, I'll see you next time.